Presidential Commission of Inquiry was established, and this Presidential Commission of Inquiry ordered the digging of the mass graves in Jaffna, in and around the Alfred Murayappa Stadium. So when they started digging, they found around 600 skeletal remains at one particular mass grave. And subsequently, they found many more mass graves around the Chamani region. And of late, now, last month, the recent finding is in the district of Mannar. A couple of weeks back, I was there in Mannar, and I happened to see the recent excavations that has been going on. So there again, it was a military camp, and within this military camp, they have excavated the most recent mass grave in Mannar as you enter the Mannar town. So here, it is not just those people who disappear and die. The entire family is psychologically affected. Here we have victims, the two ladies sitting next to me and the young kid sitting over there. The boy here, his father disappeared nearly 9 years back. He is searching for his father. His mother is searching for her husband. These people are searching for their loved ones. Psychologically, the entire families are destroyed. This is what the forces want. This happens when you start asserting for your rights. But then, can we give up looking out for these people who have disappeared from our eyes? They do not really, their wife, the young wife, doesn't know whether she's a widow or she's to expect her husband's return. It's a dilemma. The children keep pestering the mothers, asking when will my father return. Nobody knows except for those who have captured them, kidnapped them. And Sri Lanka is a place known for these white man kidnappings, which have stopped recently, the last couple of years. But still, thousands and thousands of them are yet to return home. And a recently published Amnesty International report states that around 60,000 to 100,000 people are affected in the entire island, cutting across the ethnic divide, because enforced disappearances started during the time of the JVP insurrection and continued much later till the end of the Mahinda Rajapaksa regime. So enforced disappearance is an endemic disease that has to be completely nailed out, completely removed from the earth itself, not only in Sri Lanka, because my friend from Kashmir is here. In Kashmir, again, this is a very, very endemic issue. I know the lady who heads the mothers of the disappeared. She has a record of around 10,000 people who have disappeared. Wherever you find militarization, wherever you find the presence of the army, this problem is a contagious problem, a problem that the world has to very, very seriously address. To start discussing more on this, I now invite Mrs. Maria Suresh Ishwari, who's a victim of enforced disappearance and a women's rights activist from Sri Lanka. She will speak in Tamil and Nishanti will translate into English.
Good evening, everyone. எனது பெயர் மரிய சுரேஷ் ஈஸ்வரி. நாம் முல்லைத்தீவு மாவட்டத்தில் வலிந்து காணாமையாக்கப்பட்ட உறவுகளின் பிரதிநிதியாக
My name is Yeah, okay.
My name is Maria Suresh Eastern.
நான் முல்லைத்தீவு மாவட்டத்தில் வலிந்து காணாமலாக்கப்பட்ட உறவுகளின் பிரதிநிதியாக வந்தேன்.
I came here as a representative of the association of the people who have been enforced, disappeared enforced.
மனித உரிமை
The young man you are. Yeah.
ஐநா சபை மனித உரிமை முன்னரில் என் கனவு பற்றி உரிமை கேட்பதற்காக வந்துள்ளேன்.
I came here to ask justice for my husband who has been kidnapped in front of the UN.
எனது கணவன் மாத்தளை மொழிவாய்க்கால் கொடூரமான யுத்தத்தின் போது
During the war in Madurai, Mulivaikal,
2009 கடற்படையினரால் அரெஸ்ட் பண்ணப்பட்டார்.
my husband has been arrested in the sea on the 18th of March 2009.
அரெஸ்ட் பண்ணப்பட்ட விடயத்தை இலங்கை சர்வதேச ஜெயிலில் வச்சாங்க. நேரடியாகவும் இந்த பத்திரிகை மூலமாகவும் வானொலி மூலமாகவும் எனது கணவரை அரெஸ்ட் பண்ணினதை அறிவித்தார்கள்.
The Red Cross, the International Red Cross of Sri Lanka has announced that officially through radio and newspapers.
இது சம்பந்தமாக இலங்கை அரசிடம் நீதி கேட்டு போராடினோம்.
So we fight for that.
No.
இந்த பிரச்சனை சம்பந்தமாக நாங்கள் இலங்கை அரசிடம் எத்தனையோ தடவைகள் நேரடியாக போராடினோம், நீதி கிடைக்கவில்லை.
So we fight for that to the Sri Lankan government, asking many times about the disappearance of my husband, but we had no answer.
எங்கள் உறவுகளை நேரடியாக நாங்கள் கையில் ஒப்படைக்கப்பட்டோம். இதுவரைக்கும் அரசாங்கம் தங்களிடம் எங்கள் உறவு இல்லை இட்டதற்காக சர்வதேசத்தை நோக்கி நாங்கள் பயணிக்கின்றோம். இதுவரைக்கும் எங்கள் உறவுகளை தேடி நாங்கள் சர்வதேச இலங்கை அரசுடன் கேட்டு நீதி கிடைக்கவில்லை என்பதற்காக சர்வதேசம் நோக்கி பயணிக்கின்றோம்.
As we didn't get any positive answer from the Sri Lankan government, today we are standing here in front of the international community to ask justice.
மூன்று தடவை நாட்டில் நாங்கள் இலங்கை ஜனாதிபதியை சந்தித்தோம். நேரடியாக கலைக்கும் போது அவர்கள் எங்கள் உறவுகளை இல்லை என்று கைவிடுகின்றார்கள். அந்த அரசிட்ட தான் எங்கள் உறவை நாங்கள் நேரடியாக கையளித்தோம்.
We have met the government of Sri Lanka 3 times, and we know that we have seen our family members surrendered to them to the government officially, but the government today says that they don't have the trace of our family members.
இது என்னுடைய கணவர் மட்டுமில்லாது என் சார்ந்த உறவுகளையும் நாங்கள் வட்டுவாகல், செல்வபுரம், ஓமந்தை, வவனியா இவ்வளவிடமும் இராணுவத்திடம் தான் கையளித்துள்ளோம்.
Not only me, but people like me, others of other families, we have also surrendered our family members in the areas under control of the Sri Lankan army, which was enumerated by Mrs. Vatuvagal, Vavunia, and Omandai.
கையளித்து அவர்கள் நேரடியாக எங்களிடம் சாட்சியம் கேட்டிருந்தார்கள். நாங்கள் தான் சாட்சியமாக இருக்கின்றோம் அவர்களை பஸ்களில் ஏற்றும் போது. ஆனால் பஸ் நம்பர்கள் கேட்கிறார்கள். ஆனால் நாங்கள் அந்த நேரம் எங்கள் உறவை அரசிடம் ஒப்படைக்க நாங்கள் எந்த பஸ் நம்பரும் பார்க்கிற நிலைமையில இல்லை.
So the difficulties we encounter is that when we ask about news about our loved ones, they're asking back if you have any evidence. The problem is when we saw our family members taken away by bus, enormous way. We were not in the mood of taking notes of the matriculation number of the vehicles.
இது தொடர்பாக எங்கள் மாவட்டங்கள் உள்ள நீதிமன்றம் கூடி வழக்கு தாக்கல் செய்தோம்.
We also went to the courts in our respective districts to file a case.
வழக்கு செய்தி நீதிமன்றத்தில் கூடி எங்களுக்கு தீர்ப்பு இதுவரைக்கும் கிடைக்கவில்லை. அவர்களும் வந்து உண்மையை பொய்யாக்குகிறார்கள்.
Even the judiciary system of Sri Lanka fails to give us justice.
உண்மையிலே நாங்கள் இலங்கையின் நாட்டு குடிமகன் தான். இலங்கையில் சிங்களவர்களுக்கு மட்டும் இனவாதமாக இல்லை. நாட்டின் ஜனாதிபதியின் குடிமகன் நாங்கள். எங்களுக்கு அந்த உரிமை நாட்டின் ஜனாதிபதி தருவது இல்லை.
We feel that we are not considered as Sri Lankan proper citizens.
நாங்கள் தேடினோம், கதைத்தோம், கதறினோம். எங்களால் முடியாத சந்தர்ப்பத்தில் சர்வதேசத்தை நோக்கி தூர நோக்கத்துடன் உங்களிடம் எங்கள் கருத்துக்களை கூறுவதற்கு வந்திருக்கின்றோம்.
So we fought for our justice inside Sri Lanka, but it didn't give anything. So now we turn to you to get justice for us.
மேலும் இந்த உறவு கிடைக்க வேண்டும் என்பதற்காகவும் நாங்கள் இறந்தவர்களை கேட்கவில்லை. இறந்தவர்களையும் நாங்கள் தான் மணலுக்க மூடிட்டு வந்து அந்த இறந்தவர்களின் உடல் கூடி நாங்கள் திரும்பி போய் எடுக்காத அளவுக்கு அரசு செய்திருக்கிறது. அதை நாங்கள் அவர்களிடம் கேட்கவில்லை.
Today we are not asking justice for the people who are dead, even if we can. But we have buried many lives there. We have left many lives there. But today what we are asking,
எங்கள் கையளித்த உறவாதில் எங்களுக்கு கிடைக்க வேண்டுமட்டி நீதி கேட்டு நியாயம் கேட்டு உங்களிடம் வந்து நாங்கள் கருத்துக்களை கூறுகின்றோம்.
what we are asking is that to give back the people that the Sri Lankan government has arrested, and we will ask them to asked by the Sri Lankan government to give as a prisoners, and then today we are asking them back.
ஒட்டுமொத்தமாக எல்லா நாட்டுக்கும் தெரியும் இலங்கையில் எந்த பிரச்சனையும் இல்லை என்று. ஆனால் எங்கள் பிரச்சனையை உலக நாடு பார்க்கவில்லை. இலங்கையில் பிரச்சனை இல்லை என்றதை மட்டும்தான் அவர்கள் சொல்றார்கள். இலங்கைக்கு உள்ள பிரச்சனையை யாரும் வெளிக்கொண்டு வர்ற அளவுக்கு யாருமே இல்லை எங்களுக்கு.
Today, the international community is made to believe that Sri Lankan issue is finished, but they are forgetting us.
எங்களுக்கு எங்கெந்த நிம்மதிக்கு எங்களுக்கு ரோட்டு தேவையில்லை, வீடு தேவையில்லை, எங்களுக்கு கட்டணம் தேவையில்லை, கொட்டல் தேவையில்லை. எங்கள் தமிழ் உறவுகளை நிம்மதியாக வாழ விட வேண்டும். நாங்கள் நீதி கேட்டு வந்திருக்கின்றோம்.
What we need, Tamils in Sri Lanka affected by the war, we don't need big buildings, we don't need big roads and all these infrastructure which are made there. What we need is justice for what happened.
நேரடியாக இலங்கை அரசாங்கம் உலக நாட்டு ICRCயின் தங்களோடு தான் சேர்ந்து நிற்கின்றார்கள் என்றால் நாங்கள் எங்கள் ரகசியமான கருத்துக்களை ICRC கூடி தெரியப்படுத்த இல்லாத நிலைமையில் இருக்கின்றோம். இலங்கை அரசு வந்து அதாவது நாட்டு ஜனாதிபதி வந்து ICRC தங்களோடு தான் வேலை செய்கிறார்கள் என்று சொன்னால் எங்களுக்கு எந்த நாடு ஒத்தாசையாக வேலை செய்கிறார் என்று சொல்லி எங்களுக்கு ஒரு கேள்விக்குறியா இருக்கு.
Today we even ask ourselves if we can believe in the Red Cross, International Red Cross itself.
உண்மையில நாங்க தமிழரா பிறந்தது முதல் பாவம், அதுவும் இலங்கையில வாழ்றது இரண்டாவது பாவம். இப்ப உங்களுக்கு முன்னால வந்திருக்கிறது அடுத்த பாவம். நீதி கேட்டு வந்திருக்கின்றோம். வருத்தத்தோட நாங்க தெரியப்படுத்துறோம்.
Today with tears, what I can say is that I am very sorry to be born as a Tamil. To be born as a Tamil in Sri Lanka and to be here in front of you asking for justice, to have been born as a Tamil in Sri Lanka.
உண்மையிலே எங்களோட கருத்துக்களை நீங்கள் கேட்டு எங்களுக்காக எங்களுக்கு உண்மையிலே சின்ன பிள்ளைகளை விட்டுட்டு எங்களோட கணவரை கையடிச்சிட்டு கணவரை தேடி தடம் 10 வருஷமா 9 வருஷமாக உருண்டு திரிகிறோம். எங்கள் சின்ன உறவுகளை கூடி விட்டுட்டு தான் நாங்கள் உங்கள் முன்னிலையில சாட்சியம் அளிக்க வந்திருக்கிறோம். எங்களோட சாட்சி உண்மை எங்கள்ட சாட்சியை தான் நேரடியாக நாங்கள் கண்டு நாங்கள் நேரடியாக கொடுத்த நாங்கள் நேரடியாக கையடிச்ச நாங்கள்ட்டு இந்த சாட்சியத்தை விட உலக நாட்டுக்கு எந்த சாட்சியும் உங்களால் சொல்ல முடியாது.
For 10 years now, we are fighting for our disappeared ones. We have left our little kids behind, and we are here as living witnesses of what happened. So, more than that, we have nothing else than us as evidence.
எங்களை நிறைய சொல்ல இருக்கிற நிமிஷங்கள் மட்டுமட்டாக உங்களுக்கு கருத்துக்கள் கொடுக்கின்றோம். இந்த கருத்துக்கள் எங்களுடைய உண்மையிட்டதை நீங்கள் ஏற்றுக்கொண்டு எங்களுக்கான நீதியையும் நியாயத்தையும் பெற்றுத்தர வேண்டுமென்று நான் ஒரு உங்கள் சகோதரியாகவும் மண்டாட்டமாகவும் கேட்டு விடுகின்றேன்.
I can say many more things, but due to lack of time, I can just say, tell to you, ask you to help us to get justice as one of your sister. I'm asking.
Thank you, Ms. Ishwari, for a very, very painful testimony. Now I call upon Mr. Hasina Abba, who is a victim and human rights activist from occupied Western Sahara.
Thank you very much. My name is Hassan Abba, human rights defender from the occupied territory of Western Sahara. First of all, I want to say we feel very, very sorry for the suffering of the ladies and all the people under occupation in the world, under operation. To talk about the enforced disappearance. Enforced disappearance, a lot of people know, especially under occupation, they have a big experience with the enforced disappearance. For us in the occupied territory, we still, under this situation, still continue looking for and asking about many of the Sahrawi enforced disappearance and non-feed Sahrawi. Till now, we don't have any information about them. For us as a Sahrawi, we know the enforced disappearance during the Moroccan invasion in 1975 with the military invasion by Moroccan kingdom against the Sahrawi citizen, especially between the year between 1975 to 1991, the period of the war between Polisario Front, the representative of the Sahrawi people and the Kingdom of Morocco as an occupation power. For example, I will give some example about how the Sahrawis suffer under the occupation. Just since 1975 to 1977, we talk about more than 400 Sahrawi enforced disappearance. And we have a very famous center detention, secret center detention. They call it Agdis. It's in Morocco and territory of Morocco. Most of the Sahrawi enforced disappearance, they spend there more than between 1 year to 16 years in enforced disappearance. As you see in the picture, for example, in this Agdis secret detention center, just in the first format, 14 Sahrawi dead just in first format in this secret center under torture. And the other one, it's they call it Maguna. It's not far from that. Majority of the Sahrawi, they stay there a long years. Sometimes they kidnap all the family. We can't talk about the family of a lady. They were in enforced disappearance, hold the family, the father, the mother, even the kids, even their sons, since 16 years. All of them in enforced disappearance. We can talk about the family of Abd Samad. All of them, their mother and their father, they did under torture in this center detention by Moroccan occupation. And that's all that we have. It's not all the numbers, just what we know, just what we have it as a number. But there is a lot of Sahrawi, non-feed Sahrawi, we don't have any information about them. For example, now we can talk about more than 500 non-feed Sahrawi. We don't have any information about them. The Moroccan occupation doesn't want to give any information about them. the same thing, we have 151 missing prisoners of war. The war against the Moroccan occupation. Until now, we don't have anything about them. And the Moroccan occupation refused to give anything about them and to recognize as an occupation. I have this list and stuff like that. So all that because we were in a peaceful resistance. The Moroccan, we don't have anything to defend ourselves. The Moroccan military make a big intervention against the Moroccans, the Sahrawi citizens in the occupied territory. Especially the targeting of the Sahrawi family. They try to escape to the next territory, to the refugee camp in Tindouf in Algeria. That's why we have some missing Sahrawi, a lot of them, especially in the period of 1975 to 1977, because of the bombing of the Moroccan Air Force in Jdeiriya, Al-Mahbas, and Draiga. So the Sahrawi, even the Sahrawi, they support sometimes the Moroccan occupation. They know very well what happened to their family about that. So this is part. The second part, we have persons, some Sahrawi, till now, the Moroccan occupation doesn't want to talk about them or to say anything. For example, the CNDH, between brackets, they call it as the Council of Human Rights for Morocco, but it's just an office for the Moroccan intelligence. They try just gloves of silk to check hand with the international committee to say that we have a Council of Human Rights, but this council tried to hide all the crimes of Moroccan authorities. They made a report in 2010. They recognized 207 Sahrawi that they said in their report they did in center detention, secret center detention, but they didn't say the reason. They say just a constance of arrest, but it's not enough. That's what the working group of the enforced disappearance demand from the Moroccan authority. Then they say exactly it's not enough to instance the enforced disappearance, but the Moroccan occupation must to say how they did and to give their body to their family, to know with the autopsy, with the DNA, to know which family they are. This is first. Second thing, when they try to give a certificate of death to their family, for example, they write that for example, some Sahrawi, they said they died in Magouna. Magouna is a small city in Morocco, but in reality they didn't die in Magouna. They died in a secret center detention in Magouna. It's very big difference to say someone he died in Geneva and to say he died in secret center detention in Geneva. It's big difference. So they tried to hide their crime and what they did in the occupied territory. This picture, as you see, it's a grave, mass grave against Sahrawi. Those group, they are a group from Spain. They are expert. They came to Angala because one Sahrawi find the group a mass grave for Sahrawi. So with the DNA, they are expert with the DNA. They know who those person in this mass grave, and they make a DNA and they compare it with their family in the refugee camp and their family in the occupied territory. In the end, they know their name. There were 8%. They were 8%. Firstly, look at here. Firstly, the Moroccan occupation says no, they are not. It's not right. But in the report of the CNDH of Morocco, they recognize 4% from this mass grave. First, they say no, it's not right. But why in the report they put the name of 4% from this group of 8? So it's contradiction. So with all this, the Moroccan occupation till now still trying all the time to hide this crime. And this territory, like this picture, It's under the MINURSO cover, it's under the MINURSO territory. That's why they didn't change anything from here, because it's MINURSO responsibility to make investigation what happened in this place. So that's why they write just a report and they let everything as they find it the first time and they give it to the Moroccan authorities. Why all that? Because as a Sahrawi, we are looking for our independence. And we are not Moroccan, and Moroccan with their power, they try to make the Sahrawi enforce as a Moroccan, but they will not. Even we will, all of us in the future will be disappear, will be in enforced disappearance, never matter. So here we are here to send just a message, to hold the wall, that there is people under occupation, they're still suffering arbitrary detention, suffering enforced disappearance, suffering abuse against them. Today we are talking in this side event, and the city of Lyon, the capital of Western Sahara. It's visited by the special envoy, Mr. Mr. Hostkoller, and the Moroccan occupation bring more and extra forces to make intervention and to abuse the Sahrawi citizen because they will make a big manifestation today to demand their right in front of the special envoy by the UN. So here we still continue with that. Okay, thank you. We still continue with that. We will not forget those who were in enforced disappearance. Maybe one of the Sahrawi here in this room, they know very well this name, and maybe some of them, they are their family. But why they put this? Because they keep it as a memory. They were here, they write it in Arabic, they were here, and they will be there, and we will be there, and we will never leave that land because it's our life, it's our everything for us, it's our land. We don't have anything to lose it. Just our land, and our land is under occupation. We will defend it with any way. Just we have one thing we will looking for, and we are looking for the good life for all the Sahrawi. When I said all the Sahrawi, I said all the Sahrawi together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abba.
Thank you.
The next speaker is a young boy from Colombo, Dylan Steve Sudanbrad. His father is missing since May 2009. You can hear more from him.
Thank you. I'm here as a witness for my father's disappearance, which took place on May 2009 at the latter part of the war. It's been 9 long years since I saw my father's face. I still remember the last moments I was with him, sitting in his lap and smiling at him, not realizing that he would be long gone. My father had been a social activist whose main goal was to ensure that people, especially children, must not beg to make ends meet. From the day my father was kidnapped, I saw all the hardships my mother faced to bring us. As a single parent, she needs to position herself as both a father and a mother. To talk more about my father, he was not from a really good background. My father grew up in an orphanage since he was displaced from his family due to the crisis in Sri Lanka. At the age of 16, he started working, paid his own expenses, as well as took full responsibility over his 2 siblings. He studied at Jaffna College and had a good balance in sports as well as study. He faced lots of difficulties and hardships during his youth, but he never wanted the others to experience it. Therefore, he was involved in human rights activities. From 16 years till the day he was kidnapped, my father was engaged in humanitarian activities, which I strongly believe brought many benefits to the people in need. My father, while returning home from work, was stopped by unidentified persons and arrested on February 2nd, 2009 under Prevention of Terrorism Act and remanded for 3 months at Kollupitia police station. My mom struggled during this 3-month period since she must pay visits twice a week to the police station as well as run the household errands. I was just 8 while this tragedy took place, too young to feel sad that my dad would be long gone, or to wipe my mom's tears and console her. But that young age, I still cannot forget what happened. Where I remember the whole incident where my father was forcibly taken away. My mother screamed and cried, but seldom brought a change. As we grew older, painful memories flushed through our brains, which not only made us unhappy, but to realize all the difficulties and discomfort we faced during these last 9 years. On May 9, 2018, the day which brought havoc to our family by separating our father from us. After our father was released, where the court proved that he was not found guilty, we were traveling in a pickup to my father's friend's home, since my father believed that his life was at stake and anything could happen, so his friend's place was the safest place. However, things didn't go the way we planned. It was about 7 in the evening, and we were at Cinnamon Gardens, a place in Colombo. While our vehicle was still at motion, a motorbike just moved in front of a pickup and halted. 2 men in white got out. They came in front of us and pointed the pistol to our driver and removed the vehicle keys. Then, as soon as it happened, a white van moved by our pickup and men in military uniform with red caps believed to be the military police force of Sri Lanka stepped out the van and came near our pickup. Our whole family was seated at the rear of the pickup and I was on my father's lap. These men called by my father's full name and my dad just stepped out and the pickup and he was put into the pickup and taken away. The incident took only 5 minutes, but the horrifying thought of what happened on that fateful evening keep haunting us for the past 9 years. And to say, out of all the people in our family, my sister was the person who was attached to my dad and vice versa. Even though she was 5, she underwent the pain due to the absence of dad. She would always ask, when will dad come, when will dad come, but we had still no answer. If it was not my mother, a bold, emotionally strong person, our family should have been turned into ashes and I won't be here today. She hid the sorrows and ultimate pain within her and pretended to be happy so that we are not broken and remain emotionally strong. The statement she makes every single day is that disappearance and kidnaps are the ones that bring a lot of pain, sorrow and grievances, since the family is unsure whether the disappeared person is alive, imprisoned, suffering or dead. And our family my mother, along with my brother and myself, have raised our voice against enforced disappearance globally, and we have come here for the international community to seek justice and to bring our dad back. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. The next speaker is Mrs. Sebastian Devi, who is also a victim of enforced disappearances, and she's also a women's rights activist from Sri Lanka.
எனது பேர் செபஸ்டியன் தேவி. நான் இலங்கையிலிருந்து வந்திருக்கேன். இலங்கையிலிருந்து திருகோணமலை மாவட்டத்திலிருந்து நான் இங்கே வந்திருக்கிறேன். எனது மகன் 2008 3ஆம் மாதம் 20ஆம் தேதி இலங்கை இராணுவத்தாலும் கூட்டுப்படையினரும் கடத்தி காணாமாக்கப்பட்டுள்ளார். இந்த சம்பவங்களை இலங்கையில் மனித உரிமை மீறல் அனைத்து மனித உரிமை அமைப்புகள் அனைத்துக்கும் அறிவித்து எங்களுக்கு எந்த ஒரு விதமான ஒரு முடிவும் எங்களுக்கு எடுத்து தரவில்லை. இதமிட இலங்கை அரசாங்கமிடம் நான் ஜனாதிபதியை சந்தித்து கேட்கும் பொழுது, உங்கள் மகன் வெளிநாட்டுக்கு போயிருப்பார், இப்ப தேடி வராதீங்கள், வரும் பொழுது வருவோம் என்று சொன்னார். ஆனா இதுவரை 11 வருடமா நான் தேடாத இடமும் இல்லை, போகாத இடமும் இல்லை. எனது மகன் எங்க இருக்கார் என்று தெரியாமல் இன்றைக்கு என் பிள்ளை என்ற உயிரை கேட்டு இந்த ஐநா சபையிடம் நான் வந்திருக்கிறேன். அது மட்டுமில்லை, நான் திருகோணமலை மாவட்டத்தில் வளைந்து காணாமாக்கப்பட்ட சங்கத்தின் தலைவியாக இருக்கிறேன். எங்கள் சங்கத்தில் சுமார் 1650க்கு மேற்பட்டவர்களை கடத்தப்பட்டு காணாமாக்கப்பட்டுள்ளார்.
My name is Devi Sebastian. I am coming from the district of Trincomalee in Sri Lanka. My son Sebastian Rehan has been abducted by the Sri Lankan military and the Service of Intelligence, so-called intelligence, on the 20th of March 2008, and till today he is being reported missing. Since 11 years, I am fighting to find him back, and I haven't got any answers from the all the organization of the human rights in Sri Lanka, to whom I have expressed my injustice feeling. Today, as the president of the Association of the Parents of the Enforced Disappeared People from the district of Trincomalee, I'm representing all the voice of these the mothers who have lost their loved ones like me.
கணவன்மார்களையும் சகோதரமார்களையும் தாய்மார்களையும் 12 வயதுக்கு கீழ்ப்பட்ட பிள்ளைகளையும் பலாத்காரமாக கடத்திச் சென்று இராணுவ கவச வாகனங்களிலும் வெள்ளை வேன்களிலும் மோட்டார் பைக்குகளிலும் இரவு சாமங்களில் வந்து தட்டி எழுப்பி கடத்தி கொண்டு காணாமாக்கப்பட்டுள்ளார். இதுகளுக்கு போதிய ஆதாரங்கள் எம்மிடம் இருந்தும் இலங்கை அரசாங்கமிடம் அதை கொடுத்தும் அவங்க கோர்ட் மூலியமா நாங்கள் வழக்கு வச்சும் எங்களுக்கு அந்த நிரந்தர ஒரு தீர்வை அவர் முடிவை தரவில்லை. ஆனபடியா நீதி கேட்டு இங்கே எங்கள் மக்களுக்காக இந்த ஐநா சபையிடம் நாங்கள் வந்துள்ளோம். எங்கள் பிள்ளைகளை எங்கே அவருக்கு என்ன நடந்தது என்று சர்வதேசமிடம் நீதி கேட்டு விசாரித்து அவர்களுக்கு ஒரு நல்ல தீர்வை தருமாறு மிகவும் தாழ்மையை கேட்டுக்கொள்ளும்.
So these represent more than 1,500 people who have been enforcedly disappeared. So these may be husbands, children, our brothers and sisters, and despite the fact that we have some proofs, material evidences to prove the circumstances of these kidnaps, and despite the fact that we know the authors of the kidnaps, the Sri Lankan government doesn't seem to make any effort to help us to find our loved ones. That's why we are here in front of the United Nations asking justice for our loved ones. What happened to our children? What have they become? I ask the United Nations to do an international inquiry and to give us justice.
அது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் எங்களுக்கு போன் மூலமாக எங்களுடைய கணவன்மார் இழந்து நிற்கும் தாய்மாருக்கும் அவர்களுடைய பிள்ளைகளுக்கும் சில விதமான தொல்லைகளை கொடுத்து உள்ளார்கள். அந்த ரீதியில நானும் பாதிக்கப்பட்டுள்ளேன். இரவு சாமத்தில் போன் கோல் வரும். அந்த போனையான ஆன்சர் பண்ணுங்க, என்னை காசு இவ்வளவு கொண்டு வரணும், இந்த பிள்ளைய கொண்டாந்து தருவன், இந்த இதை இனி யாரிடையும் சொல்லக்கூடா என்று என்னை சிங்களத்தால மிரட்டி இருக்கார்கள். நான் போகும் போதும் வரும்போதும் என்னை பின்தொடர்ந்து வந்திருக்கிறார்கள். அது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் நான் இந்த OMB அலுவலகத்தில் திருவண்ணாமலை இந்த 13ஆம் தேதி என்னை CID 3 மணித்தியாரம் கொண்டு அவர்களுடைய விசாரணைக்கு உட்படுத்தி உள்ளார்கள். ஏனென்றால் எனக்கு அங்கு இருப்பதற்கு போவதற்கோ வருவதற்கோ எனக்கு பயம் இல்லை. எனக்கு என்ன நடந்தாலும் பரவாயில்லை, இருக்கிற என்னுடைய பிள்ளைகளுக்கு எதாவது நடத்தணும் என்று தான் நாங்கள் நினைக்கிறோம். அதை மீறி எங்களுடைய பிள்ளைகள், எங்களுடைய சமுதாயம், எங்களுடைய தமிழ் வாழணும் என்று எங்களுக்கு ஒரு நிரந்தர நீதியை பெற்று தரும் என்று நாங்கள் இருக்கை கொடுத்து கேட்டு வேண்டுகிறோம்.
Not only we have this struggle with the Sri Lankan government, but in our fights to find our family, we also have threatenings, phone calls during nights, not only to me but also to the mothers of the other people disappeared, from people who are talking to us in Sinhalese and who are asking us money if we want to see our loved ones again. And I have been taken into custody for 3 hours for a long inquiry by the CID officers also. So these are the difficulties we are facing in our fight for justice. Thank you.
last speaker for the day is Mr. Akram Gizabi, who is the chairman of the World Hazara Council, formerly a journalist with the Voice of America, a freelance writer, and a political activist from Afghanistan. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I think I'll start my talk with sincere thanks to the people who have arranged this gathering and who have given me the opportunity and the pleasure to speak on behalf of my people. The World Hazara Council is an international, social, non-political, cultural, and non-profit umbrella organization that works for human rights and represents the interests and the rights of the Hazara people around the world. Globally, more than 40 associations are members of World Hazara Council, and we have our representations in many European countries, North America, and Australia. The Council works for social justice and equality, human rights, and democracy for Hazaras in Afghanistan. We hope we're working closely with Hazara refugees and asylum seekers who get accepted and help them in the integration in the societies that they settle in, and try to provide counseling in order to help relieve the suffering, anxiety, and depression among those that are pending, their cases are pending. The situation in Afghanistan is more precarious than ever in the post-Taliban era. The fall of the Taliban and the presence of international forces gave hope to the Afghans that a new era has dawned and the war and suffering of the people are finally over. However, the euphoria was short-lived because soon the international attention was diverted from Afghanistan to Iraq, and those who wanted to keep Afghanistan in turmoil renewed their interferences, and gradually the possibility of establishing a free, democratic, and peaceful Afghanistan eroded, and hopes and aspirations of the people eventually turned to ashes. Violence coupled with a different form of enforced disappearance, that is kidnapping of the individuals and groups on the basis of their ethnic identity, has turned the Hazaras into a most vulnerable people in the country. The situation of the Hazaras in Afghanistan is unique in the sense that although they are not involved in the war, they are being brutalized by the insurgency on the basis of their ethnicity and religion. We have a forced disappearance of a different form, which is kidnapping. This is perhaps worse than the forced disappearance of individuals, because here sometimes people are abducted en masse. For the last 15 years, we have endured all kinds of violence against our people, but disappearance of the loved ones with no traces has brought a painful legacy to most of the affected families. The first kidnapping started in 2003, in which a staff of international NGO was kidnapped, later brutally murdered by the Taliban, and to date, no prosecution has taken place. On May 11, 2015, 31 Hazaras were kidnapped in the southern province of Zabul, and although their abduction attracted a lot of attention and protest by civil society activists, no one has ever been released, and no person has been prosecuted. In November 21, 2015, 20 passengers from a bus were abducted, and later even non-Hazaras were released, but the rest are still missing. One of the most notorious cases was the kidnap of 9 people in the same province in 2015. The 7, 2 of them elderly women, 5 men and a 9-year child were brutally killed. Their bodies were dumped on the road. The people were outraged, and they took the bodies to Kabul, and huge gatherings took place that shook the central government. The name of the girl was Shukriya Tabassum, after whose name a movement started that is active to date. The government promised to prosecute the perpetrators, but so far no arrest has been made. I think we could move to a short clip on the kidnappings in Afghanistan, and then I'll continue a little more.
In the Sancharak district. No group has claimed the Following unknown gunmen have kidnapped at least 17 civilians from the Shia Hazara community in northern Afghanistan. Officials in Sarapul province say that those kidnapped were taken from their vehicles in the Sancharak district. No group has claimed the kidnapping, but the remote areas under the control of Taliban militants. Officials have already sent local people to Taliban commanders for mediation and the release of the kidnapped. This is the second mass abduction in as many days in the northern part of the country. On Tuesday, Taliban militants ambushed 3 buses in Kunduz province, killing 19 and taking away dozens of others, among them police personnel. The fresh assaults followed last week's selection of Mullah Hibatullah Akhundzada as the group's new leader.
Afghanistan's senior Shiite community leader said on Saturday the Islamic State group is responsible for kidnapping dozens of Shiite men and boys in February. Mohammed Mohaqiq said 2 former Taliban leaders who switched allegiance to the rival Islamic State group were responsible for the abduction of 31 members of the minority Shiite Hazara community on February 24th in the southern Sabul province. It is the first time an Afghan leader has confirmed Islamic State group involvement in the kidnappings. Mohaqiq says the 2 prominent Islamic militants have simply changed their white flag of the Taliban for the black IS flag.
On September 6, 2016, 8 Hazaras were kidnapped on the highway between the central province of Maidan Wardan. And again on October, 25 people were kidnapped on the highway between Bamiyan and Kabul. The insurgency, be it the Taliban or the ISIS, attack Hazara areas and after looting and plundering, murder the individuals and take some people hostage. A very tragic and painful case that the guy mentioned, Saripol, took place in Saripol in 2017. Terrorists from both Taliban and ISIS, both of them, attacked the village, killed more than 60 people, and abducted 150 families. Some of the children and old men were released later on, and 47 girls are still missing. Again, the government has done little to secure the release of these young girls. During the last week, about 90 people were abducted on the highway between the central province of Maidan Wardak and Kabul, which is about 20 miles from the center of Kabul. Hardly a week goes by when one or more of the people are not kidnapped on the road. Most of these incidences go unnoticed because the people don't know about them. There is very little presence of media in the provinces, and the security forces do not report them because it would create a negative image about their performance. The government itself ignores these incidences, and the terrorist insurgents also take advantage of this situation. We have hundreds of people that are unaccounted for. During the last few years, the situation has steadily deteriorated, and both the insurgency and the countries behind it realized that the time has come to make their move in Afghanistan. As a result, we have witnessed bold moves on their part to carry out a horrendous attacks in the heart of major cities, including Kabul. In the coming years, we expect more violence and more bloodshed. Since we haven't received any justice from the government, we ask the international community, especially the UN Human Rights Council, to investigate the human rights violations and the abduction of these people. We are a peaceful people. We haven't had even one suicide bomber or been involved in the violence against the government or the international forces. But we have been continuously targeted. Our patience has limits. Our people are pushed to a corner. It can't go on indefinitely. We fear if the plight is continuously ignored, things will get out of hand. Thank you very much.
That's an image of one of the victims of one of the abductions. Yeah.
If you want to add something, you can. We still have half an hour.
Not too much, just wanted to kind of give context for the picture. Above you can see one of the victims of when the buses are stopped between cities, Hazaras are taken off and killed. And so it's just to show that there's no discrimination of, it's not about militants, war, it's about they're Hazara, they're Shia Muslims, their ethnicity is Hazara, and the way that they look and present themselves in society puts them at risk for being beheaded in public places, going on a bus from one place to another. And just to reiterate what Ghazavi said very clearly, I guess, was the fact that there's a worsening situation just because before there were kidnappings, there were disappearances, but it was on behalf of militant groups, the Taliban. But it's been escalating in recent years because of the fact that ISIS is now in the country, and ISIS has, in general, ISIS targets Shia Muslims around the world, but it has increased and escalated its attacks on Hazaras since 2016. And so now there's not only the Taliban, there's ISIS as well, targeting Hazaras, and oftentimes the militants, they have the same, I guess, enemy, and so they often, as the video mentioned, a lot of the militants have just changed their flag or changed their tactics, but the target is always the same, which is Hazara people. And just, I think this talk is in memory of Shukriya and all the victims.
Thank you. Vanessa, do you have any comments on Kashmir?
Sure. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for organizing such a wonderful panel, and I was very much delighted to see the poster behind where the organizer put the pictures of the victims of enforced disappearance of Indian occupied Kashmir also. Thank you for that. And while listening to the testimonies of the victims of enforced disappearances, the two ladies and young guy over here, my heart goes out to those victims and my all sympathies for them. I have thousands of stories like these to share with you, like enforced disappearances, but looking at the sensitive, the young guy who is here who presented his case, I remember in 2013, we had a young girl here from Kashmir, Anisa Nabi. Her father he's settled in enforced disappearance. We don't know whether he is alive or dead. Her mother was striving for the release of her husband, and she was killed by the forces. But when Anisa Nabi was here on this United Nations, when she spoke here, and also had a chance to meet the special working group on enforced disappearances, but after when she was back, although she came from Azad Kashmir, she had a chance to class her, but the Indian forces and intelligence agencies went to their home, back home in Handwara, to our grandfather, and told him that don't send this girl again in search of his father, because if she goes again, if she will do it again, the two young kids you have here, you won't have them, they will be killed. So they will meet the same fate as your son has met. So this is one situation which I discussed with the girl who came out here. That is the same, the story goes on and on in Kashmir. The victims of enforced disappearances, you mentioned one, Paul Norman, you mentioned about the brave, the Iron Lady of Kashmir who founded the Association of Parents of Disappeared Persons, who has been traveling around the globe, though she's a literate, but she traveled around the globe. She galvanized the international opinion about these enforced disappearances in Kashmir, and we had a reference to in the recent report of the Human Rights Commissioner, which Human Rights Commissioner released on 14th of June. But the situation still remains tense, and India has intensified its military operation. The report came out. But we have to keep on advocating, we have to keep on telling the people, and the people in room number 20, we have to hammer on their conscience so that they could come to some decisions in order to protect the people from these enforced disappearances, because this is a crime against humanity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now throw open the floor for questions, comments. Yes, sir.
I would like to ask Mr. Paul Newman. In 1991, there was a peace talks going on with the
Speak on the mic.
Assam. In 1991, there was a peace talk going on with the HET and the Premdasa government. And in Galadari Hotel, Mr. Balasingham and then Adela Balasingham, Kittu and Karikalan, June, and I have the list but I forgot. And the government was discussing peaceful situations in Sri Lanka. While the peace talks going on, the LTT in the Eastern Province kidnapped 700 policemen, and they are them to later weapons and surrender. They surrender as a POWs, and they told them they are going to release by the government, and then Mr. Balasingham promised he will release them. Not 24 hours. They took them to Rupaskulam and murdered cold-blooded with the families. Some officers with the families. And my question, these 700 people, these police officers, in 2016 you told me that it was done by Karuna. Okay? And last 17th May, I went to Rupa School and I found the graves. Would you like to testify in the future against this case?
What do you want me to testify?
Because you admitted that Karuna did it. The Karuna was the entity. It used to be a government.
Karna is now working for Yeah.
Sir, I don't care that I'm not working for somebody, anyone, I don't care.
That's a
Human, as a human, I have the list of the police officers. One of my friends there, and I want to know that's yes or no.
I am once again reiterating that it was done by Karuna, nobody else. I shall testify. I have no problems in testifying, and I shall also testify that Karuna worked very closely as a minister under Mahinda Rajapaksa. That again is a fact. So today he is your friend. Yesterday he was a killer of the
I'm
same
not a politician.
forces.
I'm not a politician. Yes,
Fine. I can testify. There's no doubt about that. Yes, I stand by what I said. Whether it is 2016 or today, it was Karuna who did it, and nobody else. I stand by what I said.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question for Mr. Gizavi. I would like to find out, does the Afghan government protect the Hazara community from the ISIS and the Taliban? And I have another question for the mothers, either Devi or Ishwari. I would like to find out what is the enforced...
Yes, I couldn't get the question.
Yes, you mic,
like-
please. On the mic.
No, it's not on.
Yeah.
Okay, my question to Mr. Gizavi is that whether the Afghan government protects the Hazara community from ISIS and Taliban, because it's like, I think that's what the US government is trying to have the Afghan government fight these two communities. So, yeah.
Unfortunately, no. The government does not. Actually, it looks the other way. I had a lot to talk about Afghanistan. I was given about 7 minutes, so I wanted to be short and not to take the time of others. I have a whole belly full of stories to tell. In Afghanistan, you know, everything is ethnically based. Politics is ethnically based. We've gone through several wars, and the dominant group is the Pashtuns that has ruled the country since its inception for over 250 years. And only briefly during the Mujahideen government, the Tajiks, which is another ethnic group in Afghanistan, took power, but they, again, with the help of the West, they brought the Pashtuns back again in bone, because somehow it is in their mindset that the Pashtuns should be in power in Afghanistan. Even by hook or by crook, it doesn't matter. In the last elections, somebody else, the opponent of Mr. Ghani, had more votes than him. And in terms of irregularities, Mr. Ghani had 2.2 million forged votes. The other guy had 900,000. So in any case, but the West came in, the US put its foot on the ground, and they created a two-headed monster called the National Unity Government. Like in any country, for example, I always give the example of America, that you would have Mr. Trump is president and Hillary Clinton is the chief executive officer. Can you believe this? Where you have two candidates towards the end, and then they say, you see, even if it's not in the Constitution, well, since this guy has run so far, let's make him chief executive officer. And they didn't let it. So now the power, once again, is monopolized by the Pashtuns. The first vice president is exiled in Turkey, if you know, for some trumped-up charges. He lives there. He cannot go back to Afghanistan. There is a criminal case against him. The second vice president actually does not have, cannot drink a cup of water without the permission of the president. So our president is by all means nominal. We have vice president, we have ministers, but they're all nominal. And this is in the State Department report also mentioned. So no, they do not support or help or protect the Hazaras. The central Afghanistan is the land of the Hazaras. We are safe there, it's the safest place. But once we get out, we put our foot out, we are blocked by the Taliban supported groups or the Taliban themselves, and we are picked out from the buses and trucks and cars and singled out and shot, sometimes in daylight, sometimes they are kidnapped, as I mentioned. They don't protect us. No.
And I have a comment to add if you're interested to it.
Yeah.
I just want to really point out the fact that the government is like every other institution in society where the history of the Hazaras doesn't start in 2000, in the 2000s when the world started looking at it. The history of genocide, discrimination, and slavery goes all the way back to the 1800s. And so the discrimination against Hazaras is entrenched into society because of the history and the genocide and the enslavement of the people. That's very difficult to take away in a generation. And so when we're talking about the government or any institution, it's important, I think, to remember that racism or discrimination or stereotypes or prejudices, they come with people and not with so for example, if there is prejudice or stereotypes or racism in society, it's going to manifest itself in the police force, in the civil service, in society, and in the government, because it's part. The government is composed of people, right? And so there are legitimate questions, I think, that the victims' families are asking. For example, when one of the kidnappings on the highways, a lot of the families were asking why, how this was possible that this kidnapping happened between two government-controlled checkpoints that were very close to each other, to the point that you could even see the bus. You could see the bus from according to eyewitnesses, from the checkpoints. So it's not about, it's hard to say what is going on, in terms of protection or motivation, but the facts are there, and the victims' families have a right to ask, how could this happen between two government checkpoints that are so close to the bus that you could see what's happening? These are legitimate questions that should be answered and have not been answered. So I think that there are questions that need to be answered.
My question to the mothers was that, what is the situation now about enforced disappearances in Sri Lanka? What is maybe you're still here, but people don't know?
போய்கொண்டுதான் இருக்கின்றார்கள். எப்படி போறார்கள் தெரியாது. சில வேளை நாங்களும் இந்த சூழல்ல காணா போகும்ட்டு தான் யோசிக்கிறோம். ஏன்னா நிலைமை அப்படித்தான் இருக்குது. ஏற்கனவே என்ன 2 தடவை நான் இன்னும் கணவரை தேட போவது குறுகிய நாளுக்குள்ள அச்சுறுத்தப்பட்டுள்ளார். அப்ப நாங்கள் இப்ப சாட்சியம் அளிக்கிறோம். உண்மையிலே எங்களோட உயிரை உத்தரவாதமாக வச்சு நாங்கள் சாட்சியம் அளிக்கல. உயிர் போனாலும் இன்னொரு மனைவி தன்னுடைய கணவரை இழக்கக்கூடாதுன்றதுக்காகத்தான் நான் இதில் நேரடியாக சாட்சியம் சொல்ல வந்திருக்கிறேன். இதுதான் நியமான பிரச்சனை.
Still today, people are missing. Even for me, my securities are guaranteed if I go back to Sri Lanka. Anything can happen to me myself. But I risk my life to voice my quest for justice, because I don't want another woman be victim as myself.
நாங்கள் எங்களோட மகன்மாரை கணவன்மாரை தேடி வந்தோம். இன்னொரு கொஞ்சம் காலம் போனோன்னா நாங்களே காணாம ஆகிடுவோம். என்னன்னா இன்னும் எங்களோட மற்ற பிள்ளைய எங்களை தேடி வர வாய்ப்புகள் இருக்கு.
Today we are here to find back our loved ones, our husbands or children. But maybe tomorrow we will be ourselves reported missing, and maybe our children will be doing the same than what we are doing today.
நாங்கள் அரசாங்கத்தை குற்றம் சுமத்த வேண்டும் என்று வரையில அரசாங்கம் நீதியோட நடக்க வேணும். இனியும் இந்த அநீதியை நடக்கக்கூடாது. எங்களோட உறவு கட்டாயம் கிடைக்க வேணும்ன்றதுக்காகத்தான் நாங்கள் இந்த சாட்சியத்தை உண்மையில சொல்லுறோம். தங்களை நடக்காவட்டி இல்லை 2009 இருந்து இப்போ 2018 வரைக்கும் எங்களுக்கு அநீதி தான் நடந்து கொண்டிருக்கு. சுதந்திரம் இல்லை, நாட்டில் கலைக்க சுதந்திரம் இல்லை, நாங்கள் பேச சுதந்திரம் இல்லை. நாங்கள் உண்மையை இந்த நாட்டுக்கு வந்த உடனே இராணுவத்தை காண்பது அரிதாக இருக்கு. அங்கே 2 ரவுண்டருக்கு ஒரு இராணுவம். நாங்கள் எங்கேயும் அந்த உடியோட பார்த்து வாழலாம், அவர்களை பார்க்க பயமா இருக்கு. விமானத்தால் குண்டை போட்டார்கள், நேரடியாக சுட்டார்கள். அவர்களின் உடைய கண்டவுடனே அவர்கள் நல்லவர்கள் என்று சொன்னாலும் எங்களை அவர்களை கெட்டதாகத்தான் தெரியும். அந்த உடைக்கு பயம். இங்க வந்து பார்க்க இங்க பெண்களெல்லாம் சுதந்திரமா நடமாடிக்க நம்ம பெரும் மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறோம். எங்களுக்கு அவ்வளோ சுதந்திரம் அங்க இல்லை.
We are not here to accuse the Sri Lankan government in any way, but what we ask is for justice. We want to find back our loved ones who have been reported missing. And when we are here and we can see that women here can speak freely and can dress freely and all that, but we don't have that freedom in our country, so we can't speak or do what we want in our country.
That apart, she also said that she's so happy to be seeing women move so freely here, because back in her country they are being surrounded by the presence of the military forces, and she recounts that it is the very same military forces which had bombed us as well as aerially attacked. And it is this very same forces which had killed their loved ones. And though the war has stopped and then peace has returned to the island, but still for every 2 civilians in the place where she resides, she says there's one soldier. The moment they see people in the uniform, they don't feel comfortable living in the place, because it is these very soldiers who had committed all these atrocities during the course of the war. So how can we be comfortable living in a completely militarized area is the question she asks.
இதை தவிர நாங்கள் ஒரு விடயத்தை கைவிட்டுட்டோம். ஐசிஆர்சியிடம் உக்கிர சண்டையின் போது எங்களை வேறு யாரும் பாதுகாப்பில்லை. ஐசிஆர்சியின் கடல் கப்பலில் தான் எங்கள் காயப்பட்ட உறவுகளை கையளித்தோம். அவர்கள் பெயர்கள் பதிவு செய்யப்பட்டு எடுத்தார்கள். அதிலே செய்யப்பட்ட பதிவில் வயது போனவர்களை விடுதலை வைத்தியசாலையில் இருந்து விடுவிக்கப்பட்டார்கள். அந்த போராளிகள், அதாவது போராளிகளை கொண்டு போனவியல், மற்றது எங்கள உறவுகள், போராளி சார்ந்த வயது குறைந்த உறவுகளை கொண்டு போய் இதுவரைக்கும் அவர்கள் ஐசிஆர்சியின் பதிவில் இருக்கின்றார்கள். ஐசிஆர்சி தங்களுக்கு தெரியாதது சொல்றார்கள். அதே ஒருக்கா நாங்கள் எல்லாருமே கவனித்தோம். என்னென்னா அவர்களின் பாதுகாப்பை கொடுத்த உறவு ராணுவத்துக்கு அதை கொடுக்கல, ஐசிஆர்சியின் பாதுகாப்பில் கொடுத்த உறவு கூடி எங்களுக்கு என்ன கிடைக்கல.
So during the intensive war period, we have made our loved ones surrender to the ICRC.
The injured
ones, and they have taken their names, but there were also some fighters also. But even though the representative of ICRC say that they have the names of the people, today they are ignoring that. They say that they don't have them in their custody.
Any other questions? Comments?
Your conclusion. Now you wrap up. Concluding remarks.
Disappearance, as all of us know, it's a problem that needs to be addressed wherever there is militarization, whether it is in Kashmir, or in Afghanistan or Sri Lanka. Because as long as the armed forces are there occupying your land, this problem is going to be endemic. Whether it's not confined to one particular part of the world. We have seen disappearances from Latin America to Africa to Asia, all the continents. It cuts across borders. The only motive is to silence the voices of the masses who fight for their rights by creating fear in the entire community, because it's a disappearance is a weapon to silence the community itself. And the most affected by this act of disappearance are the women who suffer the most. And that is where we see these women here coming all the way from Tamil Eelam to voice their opinions and seek justice amidst the voiceless other masses who come here. And these people who sit at the helm of affairs seem to be not in a mood to listen to these people and render justice to them, which is actually a shame, and also it shows the apathy of the people who are in power towards those who are suffering. It is here that the world has to completely change. It is here that we need to make the world a better place to live. This can happen only when there is accountability. This can happen only when there is justice. It is for bodies like the UN to press the panic button immediately and set things right. Otherwise, we will see women like this coming here, knocking at the doors of the UN, as long as there are perpetrators in the garb of military uniform, wearing the military uniform, or as long as war is there in this world, disappearances will continue. It is high time that the UN takes this issue seriously, because in the background, if you see, there are very many faces here. These are not just faces. Every face has a family. Every face has a story to narrate. Every face has a relative to take care of. Every face has a responsibility towards their family, towards their community, towards the society, and towards the world at large. It is here that these faces should not be merely numbers on the computer, because when we type the computer for disappeared persons, we get only the numbers. Where are their graves? Their graves are known as the cyber graves because their graves are there in the computer. They are not even given a burial if they have dead. It is here that Sri Lanka has established the Office of the Missing Persons. But though they have established this Office of the Missing Persons, did they do it in consultation with women like these, who are the victims, is the question, because Sri Lanka can be taken as a case study for the others also, whether it is Western Sahara or Kashmir or Afghanistan. It is here that the victims should be the center. Any approach should be victim-centric rather than government-centric. This is where we lack in putting forth the question of accountability and seeking accountability from the authorities. It is here that the civil society, as members of the civil society, we should stand strong. We should all be united and say that we need to end this problem of disappearance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.